The March 18th Lane Community College Board of Education special meeting will now be called to order. Nicole, will you please call the roll?
Kevin Altucher.
Here.
Austin Fullnaghy.
Here.
Amelia Hampton.
Oh, can you pass the mic?
Sorry.
Here.
Jesse Maldonado.
Here.
Steve Natal.
Here.
Maxwell Holland.
Here.
Gary Russ.
Here.
And Julie Eastman.
I think it's me. I'm here.
Can you hear us okay, by the way? We good on sound?
Austin, we hear you, but Nicole is very difficult to hear.
Gotcha. Good to know. Thank you. Just a little bit of housekeeping for those who are at the table. Speak into the microphone. Kevin and Jerry, would you mind lifting the microphone just so we understand? Great. Excellent. That way our online participants can hear us. First off, thank you so much, Florence, for having us. We wanted to just take a moment here for Vice Chair Jerry Russ to say a few words and to welcome us. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say that it means a great deal to the people of Florence that the board would come over here from Eugene and enjoy this great campus over here. This is the mouth of the Siuslaw River, and this river runs all the way over to Cottage Grove, actually just over the hill from Cottage Grove. The river is contained entirely within Lane County. It's never been dammed. It has wild runs of coho, salmon, steelhead, and there are big sturgeon lurking in there. Once in a while, a whale gets lost and comes upstream and then eventually finds its way back out to the sea. Anyway, thank you very much for coming and welcome to everyone who has come here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Yeah. Jerry represents obviously this side of the district, which is on the coast. I represent the exact opposite side of Lane County, up in the mountains. So a little bit of a drive for me here, but this is such a wonderful community, always welcoming. My family comes here a lot. We use the wheelchair that services that are available on the beach, which is extraordinary. I want to thank the City of Florence and all of the partners who made that possible, because it's given my father the opportunity to touch the beach and to touch the sand and touch the water. I always am grateful for this community for that. And we're tied together by Highway 126, and I just appreciate the warm welcomes that this community provides us. It's an extraordinary campus here, and I just want to thank the community for having us, and thank you, Jerry, for welcoming us to this wonderful community. All right. We have one action item for tonight's special meeting, which is the LCCEA tentative agreement for approval. Do I have a motion on this action item?
I will move approval.
Oh, would you mind speaking into the mic? Just sorry to remind
I
you.
will move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent.
Second.
We have a second. We moved and seconded by Kevin. Jerry, you spoke. I made the motion. Would you like to speak to it?
Fair, fair, fair. Everybody wins. Was a long process. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Thank you to the president, all the staff who worked so hard on this, and our negotiator. So thank you. Yeah, I'm in total agreement with this.
Excellent. Any further discussion? Just wanted to also thank the president, thank both bargaining teams and the efforts put into this. I was able to go up to Portland Community College, who is currently on strike, and I saw the campus closed down there, which was very heartbreaking to see, to be honest, my personal experience from it. Where, classrooms where students should be at, and campuses and social areas where students should be at. And it was really hard to see that. And I'm glad that we have a TA here and that we can move forward with this tentative agreement. Is there any further comments or questions? Seeing none, we can move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Any abstentions? The result of the motion passes. We have a TA. We're now going to gavel out of the special meeting. and go into the board work session. We already did a call to order and well, actually, hold on 1 second here. Just make sure. Yep. We already did a call to order and attendance. We will continue to the land recognition. The land recognition will be read by Russ Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We start our meeting with the acknowledgement that the land we are on is the traditional homelands of the Grand Ronde, Siletz, Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Siuslaw people. They were stewards of this very land for over 14,000 years before their traditional way of life was forever disrupted. We start our meeting tonight with humility and reverence for the original inhabitants, the Grand Ronde, Siletz, Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Siuslaw Indians.
Thank you so much. Just really briefly, I just want to make sure we cover all of our bases. In accordance to ORS 192.640, this notice serves to correct an agenda item to provide accurate information. We had the main campus language for the land acknowledgement. We updated it per best practices of Native Governance Center to acknowledge the indigenous people to whom the land is meeting on. We apologize to the public for the error as on the previously posted agenda. We are now moving on to the equity lens. Give me 1 second here. Or my apologies, the adoption of the agenda. I apologize. This is where I will need a motion in a second to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
So moved and
Second.
Seconded by Kevin.
Mr. Chair, I have a question regarding the special meeting.
Oh, yes.
Can I think maybe you misspoke when you said we now have a TA, but I think what we have is a ratification
Oh, yes.
of the TA, just to
Yes.
make sure that
Yes,
people are
yes.
clear.
Yes, 100%. Thank you for that clarification there. Yes, a ratification of the tentative agreement. All right. We have moved and seconded for the adoption of the agenda. For purposes of the minutes, we will do a roll call vote. And if we're able to, sorry, we're getting a mic for Nicole so we can get that.
Kevin Alltucker,
Yes.
Austin Fulnegi,
Yes.
Jesse Maldonado,
Yes.
Steve Mattal,
Yes.
Zach Mulholland,
I'm sorry, I misheard. This is the agenda approval?
Agenda approval, yes.
Yes.
Jerry Rust,
Yes.
Julie Weisman.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. We're now moving on to Equity Lens. Again, just be sure to read over the Equity Lens statements and questions that we should be asking ourselves every meeting. And the one I want to kind of focus on is number 6. How can we create a space for healing and reconciliation to transform structures, environments, and selves? We're now moving on to responses to information requests. Are there any comments or questions in regards to the information requests? Those who are online, you can raise your hand. Go ahead, Zach.
First, I just want to express appreciation for responding to the questions about the dental clinic. I do want to state for the record that I originally submitted questions about the health clinic a year ago in late March. I submitted those questions again in early September, but it's only now that I've submitted them the third time that they have actually been responded to. I think that we as a board should have an expectation that when board members submit questions that they should be responded to in a timely fashion. I personally don't believe that that has happened in this case, and that there are issues that we could have dealt with 6 months ago and a year ago that unfortunately we were not able to air at that time. So thank you for answering the questions. In the future, please make sure that if board members do submit questions that they are answered in a timely manner and don't need to be resubmitted, in this case, multiple times. Thank you.
President Bulger, would you like to respond?
Yes, I think that this is something that I can discuss with the board chair and the vice chair.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other comments or questions in regards to information requests? Jerry.
I'd like to say thank you to the board members who submitted questions. And it provided me some valuable information, and thank you to the administration for your responses.
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any further discussions or questions? Again, thank you for the questions and for the responses, everyone. Appreciate it. We're now moving on to a very special item. The board wants to recognize the outgoing Student Government Association President Amelia Hampton, for her service and contributions as a member of the Lane Community College Board of Education. President Bulger.
I'm going to ask Amelia to come in front of the table with me.
For those online, President Bulger and President Hampton are coming to the front of the room.
Thank you. This is our student trustee, Amelia Hampton. She's our Student Government Association president. I'm going to read a thank you to Amelia. I want to take a moment on behalf of the board to recognize you, Amelia, and thank you for your service to the Lane Community College Board of Education. Your time in this role has been marked by a strong commitment to representing the student voice, and you've done that with thoughtfulness, professionalism, and integrity. Consistently, you have brought forward perspectives that have helped ground our discussions in the lived experiences of students, ensuring that their needs and priorities remain at the forefront of our work. You have been willing to engage, you've asked important questions, and contributed meaningfully to board dialogue. It has all been greatly appreciated. Serving in this capacity requires both dedication and courage, and you have demonstrated both throughout your tenure. Now, you won't be continuing in your role as the SGA president, but we are pleased that you will remain engaged in student leadership as the Student Government Association's events officer. This is late-breaking news for everyone, I think. We appreciate your continued commitment to serving LCC students. So on behalf of the Board of Education and the college, I want to extend our sincere gratitude for your service and your contributions to Lane Community College. We wish you all the best in your continued academic and professional journey. Thank you, Amelia. Please give her a round of applause. Would you like to say something, Amelia?
Just thank you to everyone in this room. This has been an incredible experience that I will take with me for the rest of my life, and I couldn't have asked for it to go any differently.
Thank you. That was beautiful. There you go.
Julie, I'll wait for them. Oh, they're going to do a photo and then we'll. Excellent. Julie, go right ahead.
I am so disappointed I'm not there, Amelia. It is just not something I can make work tonight and be in the wonderful city of Florence. It has been my honor, absolute honor and pleasure to have been able to work with you and get to know you. You are an amazing human being, not only just a student, but as a human being and a leader. I just couldn't be more proud of your participation on the board. You've been an outstanding leader on behalf of the students at LCC, a fierce advocate for the rights and fees and tuition for students. And I'm confident, now we know about your new position, but I'm confident that you'll continue to speak and to exemplify strong leadership. And I'm sure we will continue to hear your voice at our meetings and at different issues. And I am so grateful to have met you, and I thank you for being on our board and for your service to LCC.
Excellent. Thank you. We're going to go Kevin, Steve, and then Jesse. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. Amelia, so we're just going to laud, applause and gratitude on you. This is your chance to soak it all in. But wow, I've had more than several. I've had people come up to me and say, who is that student president that's on your board? And I'm like, well, that's Amelia Hampton. And I'm like, she's awesome. And they're like, yes, she is. And they're like, I want to hire her. So there's that. You brought such a strong voice, a professional voice, and beyond that, useful information for the board. I mean, really important information. So thank you. And I'm glad that you're going to be still involved.
Excellent. Steve, and then Jesse.
Well, hi there, Amelia. I, like others, wanted to just sing your praises. Some things that I have noticed and appreciated about you this past year. You are fearless, fearless. You are full of humility. When you speak, you have a vulnerability that comes through that only makes what you have to say that much more valuable. And we all lean in to make sure that we hear every word. And you're funny. I don't think anybody makes me laugh as much at board meetings than you do. Sometimes it's intentional, I think, and sometimes it's not, but it's always a good time, and I've really appreciated it. And then I heard you said last time that your dad would be there in the audience. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't see. I hope so, and if not, I hope he's online to soak up and bask in the glory of your awesomeness, because you deserve it, and your family deserves to know what a wonderful person you are.
Oh, yeah, of course. Jesse, before you go, President Hampton wants to speak.
Yes, my dad is here. He did drive me up here. He's not currently here right now, but will be in later.
Excellent. All right, we'll do Jesse and then Zach. Go ahead, Jesse.
Great, thanks, Chair. Amelia, I just want to say I served in office when I was your age too, and I understand how daunting it can be sometimes to serve at your age with folks who are we're older than you, obviously, and it's daunting to speak up and have a voice and make an impact. And I would say that you serve with a tenacity and a representation of students, your fellow students, that doesn't go unnoticed. Clearly, I mean, look at everyone lining up to sing your praises right now. It's been noted and very clear that you take this job seriously, and you've done very well at doing it. And I'm really excited to see where you go next. Excited you're not leaving us yet, but excited to see where you go, and always excited to support you wherever you go next. So thanks again for being so good at what you do.
Great. Go ahead, Zach.
Just repeating comments of others. Just want to thank you for your service. You provided a well thought out and strong voice for students, and have very greatly appreciated your presence in the board meetings this last year, and wish you nothing but luck in your future endeavors.
Excellent. Vice Chair Rust.
Thank you for your service. When I joined the board, one of the most pleasant realizations that I had was that we have a student sitting with us and can provide student perspective, and I've enjoyed it a lot. Thank you for your service.
Excellent. Thank you. I just want to echo literally everything that everyone else has said. And, students' voices matter, and they mean a lot. We were so lucky to have you on this board, and the students were so lucky to have you exercise their voice on this board. Thank you for all the conversations and for all the perspective that you gave to us. We were really lucky to have that perspective. Thank you. All right. Would you like to say any final aspects to this, or no? Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our discussion items, which is the Florence and Cottage Grove update. President Bulger.
Yes, I'd like to have Dr. Tinkham come up here and give us an update on the Florence Center and also the Cottage Grove Center. Dr. Tinkham?
And
that's along with Russ Pearson.
And there's some material that we have for those online. We will be sure to get these over to you.
So thank you. Chair Folnagi, Vice Chair Jerry Russ, President Bulger, President Hampton, and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to provide us with the update about our rural centers. The rural centers, Cottage Grove and Florence, provide essential student-facing services that support student success and access to these communities. The centers offer programming that reflect the diverse interests and needs of these communities, including credit and non-credit courses, personal enrichment opportunities, and workforce readiness programming. For this academic year, I'd like to give you a highlight of a few of these activities. Healthcare programming continues to be very important in the rural communities. In Florence, we are set to begin a full cohort of 10 students in our CNN program. This cohort has 8 high school students, each, who are fully sponsored by the Peace Health Peace Harbor Foundation, along with 2 other enrollees. And as you know, that is a critical area of workforce need. In Cottage Grove, we conducted a healthcare education summit in late fall with a variety of partners. This included Peace Health Cottage Grove Community Medical Center, the South Lane Clinic, along with the South Lane School District, Cottage Grove High School, and key partners from Lane Community College. In terms of credit enrollment, here's a snapshot from this academic year. Across the academic year, credit enrollment at the rural centers reflect both steady engagement and the importance of targeted course offerings. In fall of 2025, Cottage Grove served 26 students across 4 credit sections, while Florence enrolled 21 students in these 4 sections. Notably, math instruction in both centers was strong, and it was delivered by a Florence-based instructor using Zoom, which expanded access across both locations. In winter of 2025, Florence saw 27 students complete coursework, with strong concentration in a single math section enrolling 26 students, and that again was for winter of 2025. Cottage Grove supported 25 enrollments across 10 smaller sections offered in partnership with the main campus division. So essentially that's saving seats for our rural students. And this demonstrates a very flexible approach to maintaining access, but also within available resources. Early spring data indicates continued demand, with Florence filling 8 seats in 2 targeted math and writing sections, specifically reserved for rural students, and Cottage Grove has already filled 2 of 3 available seats in a math course. So overall, these enrollment patterns show consistent participation, demand for math offerings, and the critical role of strategically scheduling sections for rural students. We are also very excited that with this, our new contract that you just ratified will give us an opportunity to have a Florence faculty pool. And that will help us to be able to deliver courses specifically here in Florence without going through the bureaucratic procedure on the main campus. So we're very excited that we were able to get that in the contract, and we appreciate LCCEA's willingness to negotiate that with us. Turning now to non-credit enrollment, both centers offer vibrant non-credit community-based classes, and I think you see that all around here. Florence regularly offers personal writing classes, art classes, ceramics, retirement courses, and multiple fitness courses. Some are part of the college non-credit programming, while others courses are in partnership with a local provider. Some of the classes that are regularly popular in Cottage Grove include Flagger certification, pickleball, basic Spanish for English speakers, and a scheduled tech help cafe. Each center provides a space for free community classes offered by nonprofit partners, such as in such areas as bereavement support, driver safety, local history presentations, and we also collaborate with Lane SBDC, that's a small business development center, and local chambers to expand programming. Here at Florence, you'll notice that there is an OSU extension program, and they offer forestry, 4-H, Master Gardener, and Master Recycler programs. Florence also offers travel-related learning opportunities through Outward Ventures. That's a local company that features local day trips for farm tours. And we also have a partnership with Colette, a travel company, and we have the opportunity for individuals to go on international travel opportunities as well. Lane is also actively engaged in regional economic development in the county, partnering with organizations such as the Florence Area Chamber, Oregon Lane Workforce Partnership, and the City of Florence. And these efforts extend to local high schools as well through clear exploration and participation in regional career fairs, connecting students to pathways in apprenticeships, healthcare, career technical education, and degree programs.
And I wonder if I could just add that Russ Pearson, who is in charge of this center here in Florence, but also in Cottage Grove, has extensive connections with the community. And I'm wondering if we can pass the mic over to Russ and he can talk about those connections. We had earlier here, we had our city manager here in Florence, Aaron Reynolds. These connections that we have in these two communities in particular, but all across the county, are incredibly helpful for Lane Community College, and we include them in our service. And so I'd like for Russ to just talk a little bit about maybe who's on your advisory committees, for example, and that will give a sense of our reach.
Thank you, President Bolger. I'm happy to do that. Yes, it's when I first came to Florence, it was immediately important to me to make myself a part of the community. I've tried to copy myself in Cottage Grove and getting to know folks in the community. Florence has a very vibrant, just for a quick example, Florence has a very vibrant Rotary club, and it's one of the larger clubs in the state. And literally, my advisory committee at that time took me to Rotary my first day in the office and said, "We want you to join." And it was a wise choice that they suggested I make at that time. Aaron Reynolds, our city manager, is in Rotary. Ron Green, who's the outgoing president and CEO of Oregon Pacific Bank, a local bank that's now expanding all over Oregon, is also a Rotarian. He was one of the MCs for our Rotary auction just a couple nights ago. Jason Hawkins, who's the CAO, also retiring soon, of both Cottage Grove Medical Center and also Peace Health, Peace Harbor. We have Andy Griskowiak, who's the superintendent of Siuslaw School District, and Mike Harkleroad, who's the principal of the district, Sue Wilson, who's the district superintendent in Mapleton, and Robbie Wright, who's one of the owners and the CEO and president of HIAC. It's a local internet fiber, gigabit fiber firm that's going big guns right now throughout the area. So that's an example of some of the folks that are on the advisory committee. They advise us well. They've been with us through the good times and the bad times, COVID and construction and all of those things, and continue to offer their counsel and advice. In Cottage Grove, we have a similar wonderful group of people that are helping us there. Jenny Dale is our board or committee chair, and she is the operations manager for the South Lane Health Clinic. Carol Kuhn-Simons is the vice chair, and she is the president of the Rotary Club. She's also associated with the Cottage Grove Community Foundation. Lori Adeniji is one of the local managers for Banner Bank. Mike Sauerwein is the city manager. You see, I'm seeing a pattern maybe. We got bank people, we got city managers. He's the city manager for Cottage Grove, great guy, and a fellow Rotarian as well. Faye Stewart, if you know Cottage Grove at all, you know that name, the Stewart family, epic family in Cottage Grove, and he's the Public Works Director currently. Lana Sherwin, representing Cottage Grove Medical Center, Peace Health's operation over there. I think I got most of them. Those entities have been important for Lane extending itself in the community. That healthcare education summit we had in Cottage Grove is an example of that, the kind of work we're doing with partnering with the high school. Those are high school students taking our CNA program. Peace Harbor found us an RN that could teach that course. We pay them. It's our class. It happens here. And it's a wonderful example of the kinds of collaborations that we can get ourselves into. So yes, thank you, Dr. Bolger.
And we're at time here, but is the board okay if we add additional time for questions? Seeing heads nodding, great. Yeah, Kevin, go ahead.
Thanks. So as an OSU trained engineer, it warms my heart to find out about the relationship with OSU. Thank you. And then just quickly, do you have an explanation for the strong math enrollment? I mean, what has happened?
Well, it was mentioned that we have the possibility for hiring Florence instructors, or bringing Florence instructors here once again. We had that capability once before. There was an amendment to our contract several years ago, and it had expired. And during COVID, we all realized it, and at that time, it was pretty important for the existing faculty in Eugene to be online and take some of those classes. So it just expired, and we hadn't brought it back until just recently. I'm thrilled about that. That possibility makes it. Kevin, I lost your question.
It's okay. I'm just wondering if you have an explanation for the strong math enrollment.
The math, there you go. So where I was going with that is our local students always, if they know those instructors, if they're local instructors, they know them, they trust them. We've at different times had several College Now instructors from the high school who qualified and were certified as instructors here. We got a lot of students that way. And our local math instructor literally lives across the street. So he did Zoom classes to be able to get the enrollment that we needed to make that run. But again, local students as well as students across the district benefited from his expertise.
Excellent. Any other questions? Otherwise, I have a question. Vice Chair Rust.
First, I'd like to say, just about a year ago, when I began taking a real interest here, there wasn't much happening here. And just that was a outcome of COVID, of course. And in just 1 year, we've really come back strong. The question I have for Dr. Tinkham is the pool. What kind of vision do you have for that, and how will that strengthen our campus here?
Yeah, so as Russ was saying, with the now when we want to hire someone for the Florence campus, the faculty on our main campus can opt in to whether or not they would want to be considered for the Florence pool. So when we make faculty assignments, we're essentially, it makes it bureaucratically much easier for us to identify people who have interests in the Florence campus, but also have like an expertise within the rural campus. So we'll have a separate pool for those faculty. So essentially, they're going to get more courses in this area. They're going to know the community, just greater connection with the community. And as Russ was saying, we had that in the past. That fell out of the agreement over time. It was an MOA. And we've brought it back in now permanently. So we'll be able to have that permanent connection with the Florence community moving forward.
Thank you. Just a brief question, facilities question, actually, Russ. First off, thank you for your leadership during the rebuild and everything, updating this building and so forth. I remember during that time period when we were replacing some of the plumbing here that the clay molding class, when they would wash their hands, the clay would go into the pipes and create a significant blockage there. I was just wondering if we are, now that it's been updated, have we taken steps to mitigate that?
Yes, we have. And that happened on main campus too. Dr. Bolger and I were talking about that today, but yes, we have done things to mitigate.
Thank you for giving me on that. Appreciate it. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much for your service and your leadership in these roles.
Thanks.
We'll now move on to first reading of board policies. President Bolger.
Yes, I want to see if Brett Roulette is on the line here. Yes, he is. Well, thank you. Brett, can you take this item? Thank you.
Thank you, President Bulger, Chair Fulnagi, members of the board, and a special thanks for letting me join remotely this evening. We have 4 policies to present to you tonight for a first reading. Board policies 2045, 2050, 2200, and 2722. I trust that you've probably had a chance to review the packet materials, so I'm not going to walk through everything. 3 of the policies, there are changes proposed for your consideration. They are all primarily tied to the transition of moving off of the Carver model to the more traditional board policy model style with the OCCA policy library. And so you'll see that most of the changes for the 3 policies where there are changes for your consideration, it's either removing Carver terminology, references to types of policies in the Carver model, and in one case, even board policy 2722, there was a reference to a board policy that was retired in May of 2021. And so that's been removed as well. That policy was retired and replaced with a policy from the OCCA library that was very similar but not identical. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to address any of the policies in particular, or I will give you back some time for this evening's meeting.
Excellent. Are there any questions in regards to the policies? I do have some questions in regards to this because in researching this, I did look at other boards that and their policies that are similar to this. I haven't seen them change to this model, or at least I didn't see anything that was similar to this language. You mentioned it came from the OCCA library. Is that correct?
So the three policies with proposed changes this evening are legacy policies that the board had in place prior to the adoption of the OCCA library. And so, that's the reason for kind of the difference in terminology that you'll find in those three policies. And so a lot of the references are from what you would find in that style of board governance. And since the majority of all of our policies have transitioned to a traditional board policy style, that's why the language is proposed for your consideration for those three.
Okay. I have some more questions, but I'll let Zach go ahead. Go ahead, Zach.
Can you just provide a little bit more background on the Carver model, its history at Lane, the transition away from the Carver model?
It's my understanding that the previous generation of board policies was a project that the board hired an outside consultant with President Spieldy at the time, and they adopted policies based off of the Carver model. One of the things about the Carver model is it basically functions on significantly fewer policies. And so under the legacy policy system, I think we had about 40 total board policies. Now we have about 150. And the Carver model, I don't know how into the weeds we want to go with a lesson on the Carver model, but the board kind of establishes executive directions for the president to carry out. It established ends and means, which are parts. You'll see that language in a couple of the legacy policies we still have in our library. There were a handful of colleges that used the Carver model, but when OCCA moved to the board policy library as a possibility for colleges to subscribe to in 2019, pretty much all of the colleges have moved over to that format. You'll also see it's very heavily used by colleges both to the north and south of us.
I can help out too, Brett. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Dr. Belger.
So what I understand too about the college moving to the board policy library from OCCA, and this board decided to subscribe to that, it seems to me that it was in about 2019, if I'm right about that. About
Yes.
2019. It's because one of the things that the board policy library does is it keeps up to date with anything that's legal, that needs to be, the new laws are passed, and it goes through a vetting process, each of those policies. So we get annually an update from OCCA, from our attorney there, on any of our policies that need to be updated. The policies based on the Carver model, his name is John Carver. I had to look up his first name and couldn't remember that, but it's John Carver. You will see organizations or institutions that are using Carver model for their policies having very few policies, sometimes maybe 20 or 30 policies. We have, as you well know, quite a larger number of those. So I wanted to give that additional information about the subscription, this subscription that the board entered into in 2019 for this current library that we have. Is there anything else, Brett, that you want to add?
No, I would say the primary reason for moving over towards this, and the primary reason I would say for most, I think 16 of the 17 Oregon community colleges now use this newer model, is just for that reason of having continuous legal review. Every time a new law is passed in Salem that impacts the library, Karen Smith from OCCA and the law firm that she works with sends out guidance to the colleges so that we can make sure we have our policies up to date. And that was definitely not the case prior to the adoption of this new system.
All right, any further questions? I do still have a couple, but I want to make sure everyone else gets their questions asked. Go ahead, Zach.
I'll go at the end when everybody else is done.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I did have some questions in regards to 2050, specifically in regards to conducting the annual comparison. For what it looks like, the language doesn't updates it to where it's essentially we are doing a comparison against our own rules, essentially meaning essentially like doing conducting annual comparisons in regards to our own rules. Is that essentially my understanding of that language?
Can you give me the number that you're
Oh, my apologies.
referencing?
Board policy 2050.
And which part of the policy?
In regards to conducting annual regular self-evaluations.
It's 8A, I believe, Brett.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is basically so the goal with the proposed language here was to keep the spirit of the existing policy alive, but remove things such as the governance process and board staff relationship and policies. Let's see here. I'm sorry, I'm working off of a really bad printed copy at a hotel, so I'm. But yeah, it is the board has had an existing policy that basically commits you to doing a self-evaluation each year on things such as policy development, and so that's it's one of the reasons that the board does its self-evaluation.
Understood. My second question is in regards to the role clarity and so forth. With the role clarity, I was looking at the language there. I haven't seen that specific type of language in regards to board roles and executive roles with the other community colleges in Oregon. And yeah, it obviously provides certain clarities, of course, but there's also some significant changes that are made there too. And again, obviously we've hammered home the point that this is coming from OCCA library. Is that where this language is coming from?
No, let's rewind and. When the board adopted the OCCA library in 2019, over the next 3 years or so, the board worked with the legal counsel, Mike Blade, and decided which policies it wanted to maintain and which policies would be outright replaced with policies from the OCCA library. There was a handful of existing legacy policies that the board maintained because there wasn't a alternative in the OCCA library, like an apples to apples comparison, where it made sense to get rid of an existing policy and move to a new OCCA policy. So we have a handful of legacy policies, and that's what these are, written in Carver terminology. There's not an OCCA equivalent that we would have on our books that other Oregon schools that are using the OCCA policy library would have in its place. This is for these three. These are three that the board kind of kept as complementary to the OCCA policies it also adopted, because we adopted about 100 new OCCA policies, maybe 110. We had about 40 of the legacy ones that we kept moving forward.
Okay.
Hopefully that helped.
Yeah, that does help. It does cause additional questions, but I'll save that for an information request, which I'll send as soon as possible, of course, for the board's application there. Any further questions? Julie, go ahead.
Julie, you're muted.
Julie, sorry, you're muted.
My apologies. It's raising the hand, lowering the hand, unmuting. I read through this, and Chair Flanagan, you used the language of significant changes and significant changes of direction and authority, and I didn't quite get that. I mean, I read through these languages and appreciated the change from the kind of old style of means and means Carver model. I'm familiar with Carver model extensively, so it's like, trying to get to clearer language. A lot of the Carver model language is really unclear, subject to multiple interpretations of what a word might mean. And so I read through this. I didn't have a problem with any. So I'm kind of trying to understand what you would consider a significant change and removal of powers or of the board or for leadership or whatever. If you could expand on that, that would be helpful for me.
Well, I didn't say anything in regards to removable power of the board, but there's some questions I still do have, and I will be sure to send an information request about that. But yes, thank you for.
Okay. So you don't want to talk about it. Got it. All right. Fine.
Well, we just have 3 minutes on this topic. I'm just trying to move the conversation along. I appreciate the respectful dialogue here. Zach, did you still have a question? Thank you.
Yeah, just to state there are sort of many small tweaks here that I would like a little bit more time to process and think through the implications of. And so I would be interested in doing a deeper dive and maybe having a meeting if there are 2 other board members that would be interested in sort of doing a deep dive and thinking through what any of these changes, how that might affect the board processes. I would invite the chair to appoint a subcommittee to just do a deeper dive and to report back to the board. If there are any changes to the proposed language, the subcommittee could make those, though I don't foresee that at this time. So if there are 2 others that are interested, then I will volunteer myself to meet for an hour and just talk through these changes. Thank you.
All right. We have Kevin. We have 1 minute left on this, but if we need more time, we can add more time to this agenda. Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I brought up previously in a public meeting the idea of conducting an executive level comprehensive review of all of the policies. And so just to add on to what Trustee Mulholland just said, my thought is it worthwhile to have an outside person or persons conduct that sort of a review for us? Thank you.
Okay. Noted on both sides. And I'll try to have a conversation with the president to see what would be the best way we can move forward with those type of conversations. In regards to that, any further questions? We have 30 seconds. Any further questions in regards to the first reading? All right. Seeing none, we are at time for that section of the meeting. Now we are moving on to the FY27 Budget Mitigation Plan. President Bolger.
Yes, we would like to have the board have a further discussion about the FY27 mitigation plan. I'm going to ask Kara Flath, are you bringing anyone with you? Okay, and Shane to come up and to have this discussion with the board. This is really your time to be able to discuss in more detail the detail that we have up to this time, up to this evening. We do want to go through a PowerPoint presentation, and you do have additional reference material in this agenda item. I just want to say first that these mitigation strategies that you will see and you will hear a bit more about tonight are incredibly difficult for us. This team that you see in front of you and others also in the college, the entire college is going through quite some difficulty and challenge in light of these changes. And so I know that the board knows this, but I wanted to make sure that I said that too, because I really appreciate the college, but I want you to know that this is incredibly difficult because these are our friends, these are our neighbors, these are our colleagues that in many cases that we're talking about. So with that, Kara, would you please start with the slide deck?
It's a big microphone. Thank you, President Bolger, and just want to echo, this is really hard, challenging work and does affect humans and people, and we acknowledge that. The challenge is when 85% of your general fund budget is dedicated to personnel, it's hard to have an impact on your budget without having that impact. So we recognize that. I want to just make sure everyone understands there is a process that we're going through. So we'll share what we can share at the point that we are, and Shane's here to help answer any of those questions. So there's still some information, some things we're working through. So we'll go through what we can share and continue to have this conversation. Okay, next slide. So the information that we worked through includes our budget guiding principles. I just want to quickly recap that the highlights we want you to gather from this is a student focus. We did use data-driven information, and we did go through a process of it and trying to engage input both from the college, from what data we do have, and then we had 25 plus thought exchange listening sessions throughout the campus where we talked to a variety of people, myself and Jonathan Campbell here, and tried to engage and have several thought exchange data information out there. So I think you've received that, and hopefully you've had a chance to look at that. But just recapping, we did go through the board values discussion. We used that. There are several equity lenses that we look through, and we do have those listed later. Next slide. This is the tentative timeline we're going through. It is still a working in progress, but just wanted you to know tentatively where we're at in this March timeline. We're at the public discussion point, but there are still notifications being completed and there's still work being done. Next. I think we already know why we're here. Thank you for approving the mitigation plan in January. We're continuing that work. You approved last month us continuing to do this work, and now you see the point where we are. Where we left off last month was the next slide is committing to giving you a recap of where we see our financial picture looking at. So if you'll move to the next screen, Jonathan. So what we're seeing now, we overlay all the contractual requirements that we have, all the positions we have on the roster, where we see our M&S budget is. There's a few things in the mitigation plan we've agreed to implement. One of those is moving the aviation program to general fund. You're going to see an increase in our general fund revenues, but you also see an increase in general fund expenses. That was estimated to cost about $350,000 to $400,000. That's included in these numbers. And two, we plan to increase our part-time budget by the percent that was already approved, that was already in our forecast, but also another $200,000. So both of those conditions are in these numbers. What we're seeing is projected resources. So our anticipated revenue, which doesn't include any state cuts, because we didn't have state cuts, and that was never included in those forecast numbers, is $106.8 million. What we're projecting to spend is $110.8. So our projected ending fund balance is $4 million plus over the next year. That's what we're projecting. So what you see in front of you is a mitigation plan of $4.2 million. We had proposed a $4.4 million change last month. We've decreased that we've taken some positions off that list. We're at $4.2 million. It's a little higher than where we're at because we anticipate there could be changes and things as we go through the process. So we'd like to move forward with this plan of $4.2 million and see where everything shakes out. As Shane can explain to you, we are going through a process with all of our positions, and that's going to take time to get through that. So if we don't do anything and we continue on this plan, we won't follow our non-deficit spending budget. So I just want to recap. That was our one goal, is just to not deficit spend this year. Is there any questions on this particular slide?
Any questions from the board? Let's see. Those who are online, sorry, I'm not able to see you. So if you could raise your hand. Okay, no hands? Okay, perfect. Oh, yes. President Hampton?
I believe I understand, but I'd just like to be absolutely certain. The FY27 projected ending fund balance percentage of 311, that is added to the current ending fund balance, or that is the outlook for the ending fund balance at the moment?
That would be the outlook of the ending fund balance as of next year if we don't implement any changes.
Thank you.
Good question.
All right.
Okay.
Any further questions? Nope.
Okay. So we have the three areas of mitigation. This is the $4.2 million plan. It's still in the three categories we discussed. It's a 20.5 net FTE reduction. Last month you saw 21.5. We removed one from this list. 14 and a half classified positions, 3 faculty, 3 managers. This is summarized. And 7.5 repurposed is my word, and it just means we imagine them faculty positions be teaching different courses, but it's a process they have to work through with the HR department to see what they could do. I didn't want to get into contractual language and misuse any of the words, so it's a word that I've been using. We'll go into each area. So next slide.
Thank you. So
Steve.
do you have a moment for a question, or do you want to go through the next slide? Kara, do you want to go through the next slide, or do you?
We can take questions if you ask questions at this point. If it is about specific areas, we can hold it, but go ahead.
Okay, Steve, go ahead. Steve, you're still muted.
I'll hold the question. Sorry, Carol. I'll let you continue.
Okay, perfect. So, and this is a recap. We discussed this last month. This plan, of course, is to address our structural deficits, focus on the student lens, and continue with the focusing on transferable courses and keeping teachers and the instructional staff in the classroom and reducing duplication. Those are kind of a highlight of where we're looking at. Next slide, we'll just go into the areas. So the operational area is the largest area, 2.2 million. That's almost 53%. There are 17 positions aligned in here. The strategic framing, key strategies are the same as last month. The areas you'll see in here on the next slide are staff consolidation. There's 11 classified positions in there. It's almost 1.5 million. This is, we have a class of administrative positions that have very similar functions. We think we can move things around and streamline some of those roles and reduce 11 FTE in there. The second category is consolidation of managers. There's 3 managers. It's similar. We are aligning some management roles with responsibilities and organizational structure. We're still working through both those categories. The next one is a printing and graphics realignment. This one is one area on our, if you're able to look at the supplemental materials, one of the areas is printing and graphics has been in a chronic deficit area. So we tried to focus on correcting some of those. You see that was about a $200,000 deficit. In the last few years, the college has put about $168,000 in general fund into those that area, and it still is chronically deficit. So it's one of the areas that we've looked at. It does impact 3 classified staff that will go through a process, and printing and graphics will look different at the college. We have existing equipment and we have existing services that can continue through the college. And then there are some services that we would have to contract out, so we're still lining out which services. There's major print services, such as if there was 5,000 pamphlets that we needed printed, we would have to contract out some of those. So we're collecting that information with the deans and the managers in all the areas. We're starting to collect what that data would be to see what we would have to produce in-house and what we can still retain inside. This program costs about $360,000 to $400,000. So there'll be some costs that it will still have to move for those services, but the net impact is about $200,000 cost savings. Third area is to reclassify managers. There's two positions that'll be reclassified to director positions. And then future, we're looking at continuing to streamline similar services. And there's lots of positions across campus where we're trying to consolidate what those are. It'll create more efficiencies with our positions, but it will also be more, create consistency that we need to see across campus. Is there questions on this page? Anything you would add, Shane? Nope.
Any questions from the board? If not, I have a couple. Steve, I know you had a question. Was it on this subject or? Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much for that. You kind of answered my question to a certain degree in regards to the print shop, which is that we're looking at ways to outsource those services. Is that correct?
Some of them, not all of those services, but there are some.
Gotcha. I'm assuming the printing and graphing is not only an internal resource, but also helps students with printing and graphing. Am I correct in that assumption?
And that I would have to ask. Yes.
Yeah.
The
So
answer would be yes.
Students use the print shop and so forth?
Yes, they do.
Okay, gotcha.
And I think they work with the art department, and we expect them to continue to work with the art department.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for instance, like Bleed Magazine, I assume goes through the print shop, things of that nature. Okay, gotcha. Okay. In regards to, well, let's see. I guess that's all my questions I'll have for the print shop for now. Any other questions from the board? President Hampton?
That actually leads into my question, which as a graphic design student, we work heavily with printing and graphics. And I was just wondering, is that relationship going to look different at all for students who use that service?
It will look different, but we are still working with the art department and graphics design department there to continue to provide that service. Our intention isn't to take that away from students, but to figure out it will look differently, but it will still be available.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further questions in regards to this page? All right. Okay.
Okay. Moving on, the next area is the support services. This is $1 million, almost 24%, 3.5 positions are included on this. This is a couple of service areas. The first one is the Willamette Restorative Clinic downtown. This is one of the areas that currently holds a $950,000 deficit that the college will have to continue to pay that deficit off. It does impact 2 non-credit faculty positions, which are dental positions. We do have some part-time positions there that we're still working on allocation of where those staff will be relocated to. And in that, this operates independently of any instruction. I think in its original format years ago, it did have a lot of heavy instruction, but rules and regulations have changed and it doesn't operate at that. It is a fee for service. It is run almost like a traditional clinic, and it is one that is pretty costly to the college that loses funding every year that our general fund has been supplementing.
We have a question. Kevin?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can wait till you're done with that slide.
We can go ahead.
Okay. Regarding the restorative dental clinic, it looks like it's been running a deficit for a number of years, and those deficits have been growing. Could you just give the board some quick overview about what drove those deficits and how the proposed restructuring addresses the underlying cost problems?
This particular request will close the restorative clinic, move patients to another provider in the community. The academic team has already reached out to providers in the area that will be able to absorb those patients, but it's just continued to cost more than what the billing and the receivables can bring in. So it just costs more every year.
Thank you. One more quick question, if possible.
Yep, go ahead.
Does the restorative dental clinic function primarily as a training environment for students in health programs, or primarily as a service clinic for the community? I think the request for information addressed that, but I just want clarification.
And it's a service. It's a service. I'm just making sure I'm not going to say the wrong thing, but it's a service clinic for patients. Okay. The next one, we're good?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
we're good. Yeah,
Okay.
just making sure we had no one online.
Okay. The next one is 2 areas. Just for clarity, we are not proposing closing the student health clinic. We are proposing eliminating the ongoing general support for that clinic. It's $270,000 a year that the last 2 years that has gone to support that clinic. With the student fee, which is $60 per term that students pay into that, it is breaking even with that fee. So we anticipate that continuing and just discontinuing that general fund support. What it does have right now is about $1.4 million deficit. We're not expecting that student fee to pay off that deficit, so that will continue to come from our general fund transfer plan that we've already approved in the mitigation plan, but we expect it to break even every year.
Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you. I think there's broad general agreement that both physical and mental health is critical and clearly important for student success. And so I think the question is not whether these services matter, but how the college can deliver them in a way that is sustainable. Do we have data on how many Lane students currently use the health center? And how might those utilization patterns, how did they inform this decision?
Yes. We've got some data on, let me get it closer. We have some data on the number of appointments in summer and fall of 2025. 141 unique students used the clinic in summer term 2025. Total appointments 173, so you had some returning students. There were only about 4 students who opted in, and they were the ABSC ESL students, and where they will pay a small fee and then get services. And then fall of 2025, there were 127 unique students and 164 total appointments. So those will be similar students coming back. Is that helpful?
That's helpful. I'm just trying to get an idea about a yearly number.
Okay. Right now we don't have winter, spring, of course. We don't have those numbers yet, but of our student body in the students who were registered face-to-face students in summer, 33.5% of them utilized the health clinic. That's 417 students in total. And in fall, we had 4,574 students. 2.77% of those students used the clinic, face-to-face students.
I'm doing some quick math, and it kind of sounds like we are somewhere 500 to 600 individual student users per year. And I understand that could be off a little bit, but I'm just trying to get the magnitude of students who access the clinic. Thank you.
Yeah. I see Steve, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Amelia, I hope I wanted to get your feedback on, or your thoughts on these numbers, and what you might, be hearing from students themselves, about the size of the fee, the value of the service, the low number of students who use it. And if you feel like you're being put on the spot, I understand that, and I'm perfectly happy to have an offline discussion with you. But if you care to share, I would love to know what you think.
We had a external OHSU, PSU, MBA and healthcare management group came out and did a study of the health clinic about a year ago, and they got some feedback there. They did interview one small group of students. It was SGA at the time, and got feedback from them. And we have done surveys over this last year or two with our student body, and we'd be glad to show you that information that we've gathered from students. And I can send that to the board. Amelia?
Yeah, I think I can answer some of that question. I personally feel like our health clinic is invaluable. However, I do see with the numbers, 150 students, roughly 150 students, that is a lot of students per term. If it doesn't add up for what the college can spend, and if it's running deficits every year, I can see a point in mitigating some funds going to that, which is already in this plan, which I think is fantastic. And if it could be self-sustaining off of the fee, I think that's wonderful for students. I think students would be willing to pay that number to be able to have that service on campus.
And I would say that is definitely a small number of students that are utilizing it. And in summer, it's our athletic students who are usually getting inoculations, and similar with our health profession students too. But as we said, we're looking to move it off the general fund, that 270,000, and have it be self-support. And the health clinic has also made some changes in this past year to cut costs as well.
Just want to make sure, Steve, did you have any further questions before I move on to Zach?
And could I just add one more thing, just for clarity? The health clinic budget and the mental health clinic budget are entirely separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach, go ahead.
Sort of reiterate, Steve's desire for as much information about how students are perceiving these cuts and the proposed trade-offs. That'd be very valuable for me. With regards to the health clinic, I believe it was about 2 years ago that the board discussed whether we wanted to increase the student health fee to support the health clinic, or to continue to provide general fund support to the health clinic. And at that time, I was open to increasing the student fee to fully support the health clinic, and the board chose to continue supporting with general fund. Here we are about 2 years later, and now we're going to be taking that general fund support away. And I am wondering if we should revisit that question of, would it be reasonable to increase the student health fee in order to cover the difference between the current spending level and the amount of revenue that's being brought in by the health fee. Can you remind the board, what is the current student health fee, and how much would it need to increase if there was a desire to maintain the current service level?
It's currently $60 assessed per student per term face-to-face, and online students are not paying that.
And if I can add to what Colum's saying, the student fee did go up. I believe it was 45 and it went to 60 when I first started. So what we've found is that it is now just breaking even. So that's why we're comfortable with this request in not having an impact on students and continuing forward.
President Bulger?
I wonder, Kara, if you can...
Really quick, Zach, President Bulger just wants to respond, and then we'll come back to you. Go ahead.
If you can also, and maybe Amelia, what would be the timing to get in front of the students to talk to them about this? If for some reason the board wanted to increase the student contribution to the health clinic, what would that process be? We're late in the year, that's why I ask.
Yes, and considering that we're rolling over to the next fiscal year, and a lot of students this next term will be graduating, and I imagine wouldn't really have a say on this fee because they'd be leaving the college. I would say fall term, maybe third, fourth week, students are settled. We know what the enrollment rate is. We know who's sticking around for the year. And students are more available and open to getting information at that point.
Zach, did you have some follow-up questions?
Yeah, well, I don't think my question was fully answered. So how much is currently being brought in by the $60 per term fee on an annual basis?
So on an annual basis, it looks like for summer, fall, and winter of 2025, so we don't have spring yet, or 26, we don't have spring yet. It's 551,000 collected, so it would be a bit above that for spring, maybe closer to 700,000 or so.
Okay, so about $700,000 a year, you're thinking?
Yes.
Okay, so some very quick math. We're looking at cutting $360,000. That's about 50% of 700,000, meaning we would probably need to increase the fee by 50% from $60 to $90.
No, that amount does not include the 270,000 in general fund. So that is fee-based only, not general fund support.
The 700,000.
Yes.
Right. So if we wanted to support an additional 360,000 through the fee, we would need to increase the fee by 50%.
You would, but we are anticipating them breaking even this year within the fee, and that they'll be able to sustain it within the 750,000. Depending on if enrollment for some reason suddenly drops drastically, then we have to have a different conversation. But based on enrollment and what the current fee is and what the cost of staff are, we expect them to break even next year. So that's why we're making this proposal.
You're expecting them to break even after we cut $360,000 from their budget?
270,000, but yes.
Okay. So I'm saying, what if students and or this board said, hey, we think those services are important, and we were willing to spend the extra $270,000, not from the general fund, but by increasing the fee. Can you tell me how much the fee would increase in order to cover that cost? It sounds like it's somewhere between 30 and 50%.
It's probably close to 30%. We can figure that out based on how many are paying that fee. We can come up with a calculation.
Thank you. So once we know what that amount is, I would be very interested in hearing the feedback from students on how do you compare an additional $20 or $30 a term student fee in comparison to the maintaining current services or the lower service level. Okay. And I would like us to make that decision during this budget season so that next year's students would pay that fee. Should the college decide to increase the fee, we would want that in place prior to the fall, such that that increased fee could pay for the increased service level to maintain the current service level. Thank you.
All right. Steve, I believe your hand was up as well.
I changed my mind.
Okay. My apologies. Kevin, and then I'll go.
Thanks, Chair. So can you help me with some just kind of rough math? What's the health clinic's annual budget, just in round terms?
They would be about $1 million budget.
Okay. So if you divide $1 million by the roughly 500 students who are accessing, it's $1,500 a year per student. But I just have to kind of visualize the magnitude of what we're talking about. So $1,500 per student. Okay, thank you.
Currently, Julie, you can go ahead.
I'm just a little, I got lost in the math of all of the comments and where we are at. And before we leave with some form of board direction to staff, I would really like to understand a little bit more about where Trustee Mulholland was trying to get us to. And if I understood the math, if the math is mathing, did I hear that we would take a $60 health fee that every student pays, not just the 500 students that Kevin just mentioned, and then we would add $20 to $30 to that fee so that we could ensure that the $220,000, $270,000 that the college had been providing before to help offset this deficit spending, but it looks like they're going to break even. But the students now would be paying an additional $30 per term to do that? Is that what I heard? Is that the math that I heard? Because I'm not sure I understood everything correctly.
Yeah, and I think, and Zach, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you were asking for us to see the numbers, but then also get feedback from the students. Is that correct? Zach?
I think it would be valuable to know what the additional fee cost would be to maintain the current service level.
Okay.
And then once we know that number, we can then, as a board, have a conversation, what are the trade-offs here? And it would be valuable to have some student feedback involved in that process if possible.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to Kara, Julie, and I want to make sure your question's answered, but Kara, go ahead.
I just want to add a clarification. We are not proposing this change in combination with a change to the current service level. We are saying with the fee the way it is structured now, they're projected to break even, and we do not need to change the fee, and we can eliminate the $270,000 general fund ongoing commitment, and they will break even. So there should be no change to the fee at this point. If we get into next year and then conditions change, we would certainly bring that back. But at this point, there is no request to change the fee. We already brought it to the board last month. And with this proposal, we still think the current service level can be provided, and we don't need to continue with the $270,000 general fund.
Julie, did that answer your question?
Well, I wanted to just follow up. I wanted to get that clarity. And because before we go out to, poll students and find out what they're willing to pay, I mean, we just had a conversation about tuition levels at the last board meeting where we approved our budgets, we approved what the tuition was rather, and we approved the fees. And so I'm really concerned that if we start to now poll students to see what their comfort level is of paying more for something, I'm just really. That's not where I want to be. We need to be in a budget conversation now. We can have those conversations next year. So I would just like to, before we ask staff to go collect data and run surveys and poll students, that we actually have a board discussion and a board decision to do that, because I don't agree. So that would be my comment.
Okay, thank you. Jesse, I think I saw your hand up, but I'm kind of limited on what I can see here.
Yeah.
Jesse, yeah, go ahead.
I appreciate that. So my first question is, Kara, and I'm sorry if I was jotting down notes and missed this, but you've been mentioning 270 a lot, and I see a $90,000 discrepancy in what I'm reading on the screen and versus what I'm hearing. And so if you could remind me where that $90,000 came from or went, that would be really helpful. And then I have another question after that.
Sure. That $90,000 is the other half of this particular line item. So we only got through half of this box so far.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess I'm also in the future. I'm in DC, so I'm from the future. I guess I'm wondering where that 90 is coming from. So we will get there in a minute. My other question then, you're saying that that will kind of break even and the service level will not decrease. So I guess then just trying to connect A to B here, what was that 270,000 going towards that was that an additional services that just weren't being used? I guess that's where my question is.
I think it's twofold. One that was proposed 2 years ago now when the fee was changed from $45 to $60. Now that we're on year 2 of the $60, we are seeing that they are able to make a self-sustaining. They did make I think they made some staffing changes within the clinic as well. So they have made some decisions already. So that's already currently part of their service level. And so between a combination of those, I think we're at a point to make a different decision.
Okay, thank you.
We have President Hampton and Zach. I think and I see Steve's hand. But Zach, was that an old hand, or do you have additional questions in this category?
I just had a follow up on that point, just to make sure I'm on the same page.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Let's go ahead and have President Hampton, Steve, and then we'll go back to that follow up. President Hampton.
Yeah, I would just like to request that we kind of move on from this topic. I believe it's been explained that the health clinic will operate and will be self-sustaining, and if we need to revisit the fee in the future, which from what I'm hearing would be a huge number, and I do not believe students would be willing to pay that or would have the capacity to pay this fee hike, I would just like to move on from this topic so we can continue our meeting.
Thank you. Steve, did you have a question?
I'm in full agreement with Amelia.
Okay. I did want to make sure that Zach's follow-up question, though, was answered. Zach, go ahead, and then we'll move on.
Okay. My understanding is that with reductions that have already happened in the health clinic. It is currently operating with the 240,000 of general fund. It is operating at a surplus, and that surplus could go to paying down the deficit within the health clinic, within the subfund. But instead, we're going to reduce the general fund support. It will not be operating at a surplus. It will now be at a surplus. It will now be break even, and that general fund support we're going to dedicate to other areas, but that the current services are being maintained exactly as they are, and it will no longer operate at a surplus. Am I understanding that?
That would be correct, and we do include the health clinic's deficit spending already in our plan. We do have it part of the payback plan, so it is already included in that complement.
Okay.
So this
it being presented here as a cut to service, it seemed like it was a cut to service level. It sounds like that was a misunderstanding. Thank you for that clarification.
All right. Thank you. I think we can move on with the presentation.
Sure. The other portion is the $90,000, which is talent grants. These have been established quite a few years ago. What we've found is that it has a current deficit of about $400,000. It's a program that has currently been funding 2 areas that we find to be inequitable because it's only servicing 2 areas. These 2 areas can also access scholarships through a foundation. And we think this program was established quite a while ago before the foundation really had all their scholarship programs up and going. So we have included this as part of a sustainability plan. The next one is library and tutoring services alignment. It's 2.5 positions, $323,000. We are aligning tutoring services. For the record, this is not direct student tutoring. It does support tutoring, but we do have classified staff through campus that do provide a lot of tutoring services in different areas, so that continues to happen. This will provide a service level adjustment to the library. The library still has staff in the library that will continue to be working, but more in alignment with providing more resources to continue with classroom instruction. The last particular item we have on here is just continuing to work with community service partnerships for areas that we have community programs that we'd like to build those partnerships and align our services with those. And so we'll just continue to work on that and update the board as we have more information.
Kevin, go ahead.
Can you define what you mean by the community service partnerships?
There's several areas we have through the college we're still working through. We still want to continue to work with the staff and the programs before we start talking about them publicly.
President Hampton.
So I've heard a lot about talent grants. SGA is no longer taking talent grants. Are we providing talent grants in other areas, though?
There are other areas we are providing talent grants. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further hands, we can move on.
We'll move on to our last area, academic programs, $982,000. This does include 1 vacant faculty position and 5.5 other positions. In that next slide, we have academic alignment of course offerings. We're focusing on transferable courses, high demand areas, and having the faculty teaching in classrooms. So that's included in that line item. The next one is program suspensions, where you'll see health information management, criminal justice, that is 3 positions, $534,000. And as a future focus, we're working on redesigning some programs to be an apprenticeship model that'll help better align with the workforce needs and better student outcomes. I know you're going to have, I don't mean better, but more, however the academic people want to define that. So I'm sure there's questions, so I'm going to pause there because I'm sure you'll want the academic team.
I do have a question. In regards to health and information, my apologies. I might be going ahead here. Are we on the program suspensions?
I went through all 3.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to clarify. With the health and information management, what I've been seeing is that there is growth. It's a high demand, high skill occupation set through the data sets from Oregon Employment Department. This seems like a workforce service that's essential to our labor force within our community. And so that was one of the areas where we were wanting to realign workforce demands and community demands and so forth. So I'm just trying to put the pieces together there, because there seems to not only be statewide growth, but also Lane County growth.
Yeah, and I'm going to send this over to Dr. Tinkham because she has information here.
I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So when we took a look at these areas, we also examined how the program has been performing, and some of that is included in the information request. So this program's enrollment, what it has been generating in FTE in comparison to its expenses is something that we are concerned about. Furthermore, the course capacity rate over the last few years has been relatively low at 54%. And it also hasn't been producing as many graduates as we had anticipated, only 3 last year. So when we take a look at this, and again, these are all very difficult decisions. All of our faculty make excellent contributions. When we take a look at this, even with the labor market indicators, and then also examining other competitor institutions who offer similar programs, we went ahead and we are planning on this suspension at this time.
Okay, what I saw through Quality Info, for instance, that there is a replacement rate, there is also additional jobs and so forth, and it's showing growth in high demand, high pay for our students. And the more, speaking from someone who's working on the front lines of helping job seekers find jobs and employers recruit and so forth, a lot of individuals who have had their jobs replaced by AI are interested in this type of field because the medical field itself is still growing in at various capacities. And this one seems to be following the trend lines that Quality Info provides to the public. So I'm not necessarily, so again, I am seeing like workforce need and workforce growth there.
I wouldn't disagree that there are pockets of need. I'd like to look at some of the data that you're looking at and see at what level that employers are asking for people to be trained. But the AAS degree that we have, I just provided you that data. And so again, the graduation rate has been relatively low. The capacity rate has been very low, and so too the enrollment over the last few years. And we're comparing these to all, to other programs. As we're looking at this very closely, and we're kind of at the point where we have to make some tough decisions. So that's where we landed.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
And a good point I know that has been discussed is the teach out plan. Is there are opportunities that the academic team is working through articulation agreements, through other areas where students in our community will be able to continue in this program in the community, because it is an online program for Lane, and it will continue to be an online program through the articulation agreements.
Gotcha.
And if I could just provide some clarity on that. So we're both working right now on a teach-out agreement, and what Kara was mentioning is we would also have the opportunity to develop an articulation agreement moving forward. So for example, we have an articulation agreement with Road Community College with our PTA program. There might be other ways that we can serve our community through essentially a shared service model with another community college. So we're looking at all of these things so that we can continue to be a comprehensive institution. And so thank you for adding that.
Yeah, I do have other questions, but I want others to be able to speak as well. We will go Kevin, then Jerry, and then, Kevin, Steve, and then Jerry. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to point out just globally something that I appreciate with this presentation. So more than half of the proposed reductions come from operations and administrative restructuring, while less than a quarter come from academic programs, and that aligns with the stated goals of protecting student-facing instruction. So I thank you. I appreciate that.
Steve, and then Jerry. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you. I've had a lot of chance to speak. I'll go after.
Okay, thank you for that. Go ahead, Jerry.
Could you perform that kind of analysis you did on the criminal justice? Do you think those services, academic services, can be picked up other places in the community? And that seems to be a job-rich area where there are a lot of areas where people can benefit from criminal justice. And I believe there are statistics that show that people who have classes like the ones we offer are better cops, are better guards, are better probation employees, have a gentler, kinder touch. And could you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So again, when we took a look at this data, again, the revenue brought in per the FTE, we're bringing in 23.8 FTE last academic year. The success rate, or those students completing, was relatively low at 63% for this degree. One of the things that we learned, the AAS degree in criminal justice is not needed for direct entry into the labor force. So CTE degrees, one of the requirements is it should be. One does not need an associate degree in criminal justice in order to become an entry-level law enforcement. I'm absolutely in agreement with you that we definitely want people who are interested in law enforcement to be well educated. What our plan is that we will suspend this degree, and over time, what we would like to do is transition those students into other transfer degrees, so then they can transfer to a 4-year criminal justice program. They may be able to take some criminal justice courses, and we would align those very well. Students can also take other programs that are well aligned to prepare them for criminal justice, such as in our AOT. We have sociology courses, we have psychology courses. And so there would be other ways for these students to be prepared for transfer into criminal justice. The degree is not, it's no longer meeting that specific entry-level job as it did in the past.
Do you have a follow-up?
Well, just...
yeah. Be sure to use the mic.
Yeah, even though they don't perhaps get a 4-year degree with us or even go forward, it would seem that the classes are still helpful.
I would absolutely agree, and that's our intent right now and we're discussing this right now, we're planning this. It would be, we can keep criminal justice courses. What we wouldn't be having is an Associate of Science degree in criminal justice, because that degree should be going to an entry-level job, and it is not. It's not required anymore in the state of Oregon.
Steve, go ahead.
Yeah. So first question, I don't think I'm familiar with that term, articulation agreement. Can you just explain what that is?
An articulation agreement is an agreement by which two institutions articulate their courses, and it's unique to have such an agreement with a community college. We typically do this for a 2-year to a 4-year institution, but what's been happening lately with the community colleges in Oregon is we're realizing that, yes, we are comprehensive, but it's very difficult for all of us to offer everything to our communities. So, for example, Lynn Benton Community College has an articulation agreement with Rogue Community College for a surgical technology program. They start at Rogue, and then they would transfer over to Lynn Benton, and many of these courses might be offered online. And there's community partnerships. So Rogue Community College is able to meet the needs of their students, and by utilizing a smart partnership with Lynn Benton Community College. We have something very similar with Rogue Community College with our physical therapy assistant program, and we're in conversations right now actually with Lynn Benton Community College to do something similar in surgical technology. And the reason for that is we do not have the resources right now to develop our own program in surgical technology, and perhaps we wouldn't even have the community resources in terms of internship placements and things of that nature. But together, what we're trying to do is work together in order so that all of our students can have access to these programs just through smart partnering.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. Then my other question is about the dance program. So, those faculty came in repeatedly and their students as well. And I said last time when we met that they had really, warmed my heart and opened up my thinking as to the value and purpose of dance. So that happened, right? And I said that, and I also believe and continue to believe that despite my own personal preferences and favorites, it's not my place to pick and choose. That's your job, and I will respect that. Nonetheless, I guess I would just like to understand. I think transparency is still important, so I'm wondering if there are currently reductions to that program that are happening that are not immediately apparent on this table, like perhaps in that first row, the academic alignment course offerings. I'm mostly asking to track because I feel like I want to understand what's happening there.
Okay, great. Where that is captured with dance is in the academic alignment of course offerings. Enrollment in dance has decreased over the number of several years since around EY 21, academic year 21, it has reduced steadily. What we are doing in dance is aligning the enrollment with the demand that we have for those courses. We are going to continue to offer dance courses. There's no plan to eliminate dance as a curricular offering at this point in time. What we're simply going to do is, hold dance to the same standards that we're holding our programs to, in that we want to make sure that courses are full and that, we're meeting the demand of students and not running courses, not empty, but just less than optimal enrollment. We simply don't have the resources to do that. Perhaps in the past we did, but we do not have that capacity anymore. So we will just be matching the enrollment with available demand.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the transparency and the explanation, and I get, as you said multiple times, and I feel it too, these are painful decisions, and I appreciate that you're holding all programs to the same standard. So thanks for that.
All right, seeing no hands up online. Or Zach, thank you so much. Zach, go ahead.
Quick thought, just a shout out to embedded tutors. I know that they're very valuable to have a tutor that's specific to the class that's being taught and having that tutor available to students. So some concerns in that area, but I'm going to try and focus on this for now, the program closures. So closing a program to me represents a substantive change to a program that's worthy of a standalone board vote on the program closure. So a couple of thoughts in terms of process is I would very much like to see a process similar to when we approve programs, that we would have about a 20-minute presentation on the program, basically some of the things we went through tonight, but how many students are being served, some more information about a teach out plan. I believe it would also be valuable to, after that presentation, to have about a month where we wait and then we have a public hearing on the proposed closure, where the public can come in and make comments on the proposed program closure. And then it's then that night after that public hearing that we could then vote to approve the program closure and proceed with the teach out plan and the other necessary steps. When we had our board training over the summer, I believe it was July, we had a presenter that talked about a process that they had at the college that he was at, where there was a closure to an automotive program proposed. They had a public meeting. The public came in, talked about their concerns. While their board then did go ahead and approve the program closure, the conversations that were had that night helped move forward so that a year later they were able to bring that program back in a better way. So just in terms of being transparent and communicating fully with the public and giving a chance for the public to weigh in, and then also for some of those conversations to happen about, well, what is the future of these programs, and is there potentially opportunities to bring them back better in the future? I think this is a process that allows those conversations to happen and does so in a really fair and transparent way. That also gives this is a really big decision, and it gives it the time and the process that it deserves to make that decision. So I hope that others will support the idea of having a 15-minute presentation, 20-minute presentation on each of these closures, followed by a month later a public hearing, and then a vote. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, President Balger.
I really appreciate what Trustee Mulholland was just saying, and understand the pain points that you're having. And this is something that honestly, every single thing in this slide deck you should be wrangling with, because it's very, very difficult, and we have been grappling with this for weeks. What I would say about the programs, we are following board policy, and I think we have talked about this before. What I want Dr. Tinkham to do is to talk about what you have done in order to notify the Northwest Commission, which helps to oversee these processes, any information that you may have needed to give to the Higher Education Coordinating Commission, because I want to be really clear with the board that we are following board policy, and we have talked about that before. The other matter that the trustee is talking about, that's really for the board to grapple with and to decide. And so I want Dr. Tinkham, though, if I could take your time to have Dr. Tinkham talk about that, how we're following the board policy, and what kinds of notices we've been giving.
So I've been working very closely with the Northwest Commission for the criminal justice program. I've submitted the information and the request to suspend, and then some information on what would be considered a teach-out program plan. And that suspension has been approved effective spring of 2027. So that plan is moving forward. With the health information program, I've done something very similar. I've submitted all of the information. We are in the process of getting some feedback from the Northwest Commission, and I hope to have that approval within a day or so. But that process is still in motion. Because we are following the standards of the Commission, we have communicated with criminal justice students to let them know about this plan because it has been approved. The college has not yet communicated with HIM students because this plan is still in process. It is still moving forward. And also we're in the 10.2 process with faculty as well for this program. So that is where we are right now, and we can keep you apprised of that process.
We'll move on to Kevin. Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you. In response to Trustee Mulholland, I think for the board to design and conduct a public hearing on specific operational plan that's been presented, at risk moving the board from oversight into administration, which is something that the NWCCU has repeatedly warned us not to do. Now, I do appreciate the desire for more input, and the college does have a robust process, and you've done that with your shared governance process, and people have had an opportunity to weigh in and contribute their opinions to this plan that we're looking at tonight. If there's a concern that more input is needed, then perhaps a better approach would be to ask the president to outline how the input has been gathered and whether additional engagement is warranted, rather than the board directly conducting a hearing. I think if the board were to do that, it would cause confusion, procedural confusion. Would the public hearing be advisory? Does it change the plan? Who owns the outcomes? Those sorts of questions. So I would encourage the board to maintain our role of governance on this process and not to delve into the operational decisions.
I put myself in the queue, and then Zach, you'll be next. There is a budgetary matter here too. Budgetary is part of governance and part of our role, and also to hear from the public and to hear from the community, as well as all possible stakeholders. A stakeholder I reached out to, for instance, was a recruiter for a police department, and they discussed a variety of different things, including the reasons why an associate's degree is still incredibly helpful, especially around areas like, so for instance, they do hire individuals with bachelor's degrees, but if they have an associate's degree in criminal justice, they have a higher likelihood of restorative justice approaches, mental health-informed policing, trauma-informed responses, community engagement, and evidence-based practices and understanding of the criminal justice system. I also spoke to a security guard recruiter who commonly hires individuals that have at least a little bit of criminal justice education and leads to employment, and they find that the best security guards for de-escalation tactics have a criminal justice education background. So with that, I do feel that there is a possibility for us to bring this conversation forward into our next board meeting where we will have an opportunity for public comment. That is a part of governance, that is a part of hearing from stakeholders, that is a part of understanding what the community is wanting from us, and especially, and this is a really important stakeholder, the students. Zach, go ahead.
Can we pull up board policy 4350, please?
Are we able to pull up board policy 4350 onto the screen? Okay, 1 second.
Nicole, would you like me to do that?
Brett, go ahead if you can pull it up. While this is being pulled up, we have 8 minutes left in this subject. If we can extend it by an additional 15 minutes, I know if people want to go home and so forth, but is there confirmation from the board to extend it for about 15 minutes?
How much more?
Oh, we have 8 minutes left.
How much more presentation do we have?
We have 3 more slides.
I would encourage that we maintain our agenda time.
Okay. Zach, you indicated you wanted this board policy pulled up?
Yes, thank you. So if I could just ask everyone to read the second sentence of bullet point 1 there, that the Board of Education shall approve major substantive changes in the college's mission, policies, and programs. Shall. Okay, so and approve. So how do we approve things? We approve things through voting on them. Okay, and if closing a program isn't a substantive change, then I don't know what a substantive change is. Right? What is a bigger change than closing a program? Right? Closing a program is a substantive change. We have a board policy that says the board shall approve substantial changes. We do that through voting on things. I'm asking for a vote where we can do our due diligence and vote on this in a well-informed and public way. And I hope that the rest of the board will support that process. Thank you.
Kevin, and then I'll put myself in the queue here.
Thanks. Just, whatever this board does needs to be aligned with NWCCU standards. And, board members may have different opinions about what constitutes a major substantive change in a program. But I think the foundational document that we should be referencing are the NWCCU standards.
Excellent. In line with the NWCC standards, one of them is to hear from stakeholders and to hear from the community. It's really critical and it's really important. I also know that board members, in voting on this in our last meeting, asked for additional information, additional clarity, and a full understanding of all the program cuts. We are seeing some of the program cuts here. We are seeing different aspects of a program's effects on this and FTE effects and so forth. But there seems to be more. There seems to be other things, and we don't know what those other things are. We received assurances from the administration about that we would be getting the full picture in this meeting. I still feel like I'm not necessarily getting the full picture in this meeting. I don't know how other board members feel, but at the same time, I do feel that bringing this forward into our next board meeting would be beneficial, not only for the purposes of transparency, hearing from our community, hearing from our stakeholders, applying an equity lens. I think that all those areas are very critical in this conversation. So I support expanding this conversation into our next board meeting, especially with the limited time.
Chair Fulnegi, just to, and I know that Trustee Mattel wants to jump in. I believe that I was not very clear when I opened this presentation. What I was saying is that we are bringing information to the board that we know for sure to date that we can share. And so we are not hiding anything. Just want the board to know we are not hiding anything. We're bringing information to the board that we can share to date.
All right. Steve?
Yeah, Stephanie, first question I think is probably for you. I'm just wondering about, any reactions you might have to that line in, I forget the policy number that Zach just read from 4350.
Yes, there was a presentation that we had in a discussion with the board, and someone can help me remember exactly when that was, but it was within the last 6 months. And we had that discussion with the board about what major substantive change is. It's a term of art, and it is coming from the Northwest Commission. We actually showed the board at the time information from the Northwest Commission documents about what major substantive change is. We, at the same time, shared some email information from our senior liaison from the Northwest Commission. She's a senior vice president at the Northwest Commission as well, basically validating how we were presenting the information to the board. And so we're revisiting that again, or the board is revisiting that again. And maybe that can be shared with me about what more information you might need.
I'll also, just weigh in on the sort of the discussion at hand. I'm with those members of the board who, want to maintain that division of labor, where we set high level agenda, policy, values, and then leave it to the administration to, to act on those, and this presentation for me gives me confidence that that is in fact what is happening, right? You've limited the impact to the student-facing programs. You've sort of maximized the impact elsewhere in alignment with our values. And to me, that's the reassurance I'm looking for in this presentation. If we were to, invite members of the public or whatever it is to come in and defend those whatever programs, these ones that are up for, suspension and or elimination or, that kind of a thing. Well, it's not that we're going to get the community to come in and weigh in on that. We're going to get that particular community to come in and weigh in on that. And so I don't know that we would get clear, useful, unbiased information. We're going to get heavily biased information from folks who want to see those programs continue despite the deficiencies that we're being told about from our administration. This is why, in my opinion, when we have really difficult decisions to make like this, we want to leave it to our administration to, to apply the most delicate touch, using data to make decisions about where programs are less popular or more costly, whatever the various criteria are. And that's what's being shared with us tonight. If we were to, of course, if we were to invite the public to show up, of course, some people will show up, defend those programs. And then we would be left with the same process all over again. Well, what programs are we going to eliminate now if we decide we can't eliminate those ones? And then repeat. Given that it's a very difficult decision, and I think it is best left with the administration, working with data, working with faculty, working with the union leadership to make those decisions.
We have 25 seconds left on this topic. I do feel that if we give a little bit more time just to make sure we go through all the remaining slides, that would be beneficial to the board. Can we add an additional 5 minutes to finish the remaining slides? I'm seeing some head nods. Perfect. If we can go to, I believe the last slide we were on was slide 13, and there's 14, 15, and obviously 16 questions. We've been asking those.
Sure. So slide 14, we can go to. This is a recap of what we've already discussed, kind of summarizes where we are. What I'd really like to spend the next few minutes focusing on then is slide 15. Again, we acknowledge the human impact there, so I want to make sure you can read through that. But the next steps are really what I want to focus on. We do have a college-wide thought exchange. We'll get that information out there. It was opened on Friday, and it's still open through today, so we're hoping people in the college will continue to contribute to that. We do have the March 31st. We're going to request approval for this plan. This will require us to move right into the budget cycle, bring it to the budget committee. Again, just to recap, for some members that weren't here, the number one goal from our budget committee last year was to have a non-deficit spending budget. We did have to leave with the task of cutting $3.5 million out of last year's budget, which we did. And we're not quite meeting that, so we already had that discussion this year. So we're trying to plan ahead for that budget committee meeting, which we will start in the third week in April. So I just need to remind everybody of that quick timeline to get all that done. So our budget process begins. That's where we will wrap all of this plan into there with your approval, and which we will need on March 31st. So is there, what other information can we bring forward through the president?
The trustee first. So I wonder if also, Kara, you can talk about the timeline from March 31st to getting a budget finished in terms of development and printed and to the budget committee. So please let the board know what's at stake.
Yeah, we do risk not having a balanced budget presented to our budget committee if we cannot get this done on the March 31st date. It will take at minimum the 2 weeks for us to get that budget together. We will meet in the third week in April, so we move that up. So we have 2 more sessions with our budget committee. We'll have an orientation that first week. The second week, we'll start to recap that fiscal year 26, but we have to have all of this combined together in our budget document, which is, if anybody's seen that, it's about a 200-page document, a lot of budget tables, a lot of information, and we want to make sure we have that accurate. So we do have to stay on this timeline.
Jared, before you go, Jesse hasn't had a chance to speak. I would love to. Okay, great. Jesse and then Jerry. Go ahead, Jesse.
Thank you. I've been holding this question for a while, so I apologize. I don't know if now is the appropriate time or if I should have asked it earlier, but and perhaps I missed it, and I apologize if I did. But 2 weeks ago, we got a number that was 4.4 million with a note on it that said, sorry, I'm going to read it exactly, addresses $3 million mitigation amounts, $1 million potential state cuts, and 400,000 additional bargaining commitments. And then now 2 weeks later, we have $4.2 million, but we heard that there was actually not cuts from the state. So we dropped $1 million, which would have put us back to 3.4. And then we came today with 4.2. So somewhere there was $800,000 that additionally came out of, that popped up somewhere. And so I'm kind of curious, how did we go from 4.4 with $1 million built in for lack of state funding, which didn't actually happen because it came in at level, and then now we're back to 4.2?
That is a good question. What it's right over $4 million right now. And so we're bringing in 4.2 because we anticipate there'll be process changes that we will have to work through. So if we aim a little higher, we'll probably be at the $4 million. But as we talked through some of all the contract settlements, some of that was not built into our forecast. So that early estimate was still from about 2 months ago. So we had other things that we have gone through since then. We've now finalized the contract. It includes other things in that wasn't estimated and included for next year's budget. So that includes everything that we have to date.
So, sorry, Chair, can I?
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
Thank you, Chair. So then what I should take away from that is that this additional $800,000, well, can I get clarification that $1 million is no longer an issue from the state funding, I guess?
It is not. No, it is no longer an issue. Right.
Thank you. So then $800,000 in additional funding, then that would, because that would have put us back to 3.4, if you're following my math here. Sorry, I know it's late. Right. And then now back up to 4.2, so $600,000 to $800,000 is because of bargaining then?
It's not just bargaining, but it is inclusive of bargaining and all the other items. So what we also have included is the other areas of our mitigation plan, which were mostly included. But we'll go back through and I'll list those out for you and get that information to you.
Thank you. That would be just really helpful to kind of understand kind of a timeline of how we got from where we started to here's what happened. Okay, this funding didn't come through. Sorry, I hope this isn't patronizing. I just how my brain is working. Here's how we started. Here's what didn't happen. Here's what happened. Here's now where we're at. Would just be personally, and maybe perhaps other board members would appreciate it, and hopefully the public would appreciate it too. Is just chronological order of how we got to where we're at today would be really helpful. Thank you.
That's a completely reasonable request, and I'll also say it includes some items of aviation that is a little higher than 350,000, but we can get those together for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Vice Chair Rust.
Yeah, and Zach, are you satisfied that this will come back to us on the 31st, and therefore it would be eligible for public input? And would that satisfy that need to let the public weigh in, and in the meantime, we can develop questions? What do you think?
Zach, go ahead. We're at time, but I definitely want you to be able to answer that question. Go ahead, Zach.
My reading of our board policy says that we should be voting on these program closures individually as a standalone item. That's where my brain goes. And as such, I think a public process that includes a presentation and then a public hearing and then a vote is a reasonable one. I would appreciate knowing if a majority of the board agrees that a program closure is a substantive cut, a substantive change that requires board approval. If there's 4 people of us that think that that's what our board policy means, then I would like us to proceed under that assumption.
Excuse me, Chair.
President Bolger.
What I believe that the trustee was just asking for would constitute action and by the board, and the board does not take action in work sessions. Just want to provide that as advisory.
I'm asking for a poll here. Can we get a raise of hands? Who thinks that a closure of a program is a substantive change that requires a board approval by a vote, through a vote? Can we get feedback from our board members to know?
Point of order,
Obviously,
Chair.
we have a point of, of course. We got a point of order. Julie, go ahead.
This conversation is moving past the item that is on the table. He's asking for us to do some other action that is not before us. And that is not part of the agenda item. And this is out of order. If he wants to bring this up, he can bring it up at the next meeting or ask you to do it offline. But this is out of order. Please get us back on order. Thank you.
Of course, yeah, point well taken. But we can ask these questions in questions and comments at the end. And that agenda item is open and available for the board to do. We are at time on this subject matter. I do want to appreciate the presentation, and we will move on to the next. We're moving on to the closing items, of which is the board member questions and comments. Zach, what I was hearing, I'm trying to thread the needle here, which is that you were asking for an opinion of each board member, essentially, if we believe that this is a substantive change of these processes. Is that a decent understanding of what you were trying to say?
Yes. Does closing a program constitute a substantive change to that program, A? And therefore, does that mean that we need to approve it as a board through a formal vote, B?
Understood. And people can freely speak, obviously, in this section, but I personally believe it does. And I believe that going through a process where the public has a chance to speak to us about these decisions follows equity lens, follows our board policies, and follows basic practices, both past practices and also best practices I've seen at other community colleges. Steve?
Yeah, well, I take issue with the framing of the question, but I'll try to answer the spirit of the question, and that is I do not feel a need to vote on these particular actions as presented individually. I'm happy to. I think we're going to have an opportunity to vote on the package as a whole. I do not see the need to vote on them one by one.
Kevin, go ahead.
Two things. One, I would rely on the professional interpretation of the NWCCU standards. Like I said previously, board members can have various opinions that may not be based on the standards. And so I think that'd be an important point. I do have another topic.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's fast.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Thank you. So my comments tonight are about the 2022 National Center for Higher Education Management Systems report that President Bolger included in her weekly communication to the board. There's some important features of the report that are relevant to this board. And my takeaway from the report is that even though it's now 4 years old, the core findings and recommendations still hold true. Community colleges remain central to Oregon's economic future, and the pressures that the report identified, including funding restraints and demographic shifts and workforce needs, are still very real today, 4 years later. So for me, that reinforces the importance of us as a board working in partnership with the president, staying focused on mission, not operations, to build on our strengths and take consideration of these long-standing trends and ensure that LCC remains strong, not only now, but for future generations of students for years to come. Thanks.
All right, Julie?
Thanks. And thanks, Kevin, for bringing that up. I saw that too, and that was pretty astounding. And thank you, President Bolger, for your weekly. I like reading those and getting into each of the links, and I really appreciated the OCCA's legislative report link that was in there. I read that thoroughly. I do want to just have a comment. I mean, it is amazing that we continue to keep coming back to this power struggle between some board members wanting full and absolute authority and decision-making on all things related to the college and not to board governance and to the governance of the agency. When it comes to policy, it is my opinion, so we're going to opinionate now. This is where the world is, where each one of us have our opinions, and we are not legal experts. We are not academic experts. We are not professional experts on the law. We might be able to quote OGEC, we might be able to quote OARS, we might be able to quote the standards of NWCCU, but we're just quoting them. And it is not our purview, nor should we ever get into the business where a majority of the board interprets their opinion. That's what interpret means, their opinion of what a board policy means. That is up to legal experts. That all of our policies have been vetted by legal authorities, legal experts, people who are actually licensed to do this work, not us. And so anytime we are asked, and especially being called out in a public meeting, that, hey, if I got 4 votes, let's just do whatever we want, that is not our business. NWCCU is very clear about what we can and cannot do. And some of these things, we need to have legal experts. So if everybody is worried and wants to have this matter go to rest, then let's come to an agreement of who we should ask to make this decision for us and to provide the legal and final interpretation of what board policy 4350 means. But I cannot ever in good faith be on a board and be held accountable in my fiduciary responsibility to a 4-vote majority their opinion of what that policy means. And so I will push back continuously, and I ask us to really tread lightly, because I believe we are getting into that mischievous category again, where we are going to cause harm to this institution simply because we want to have control. And that cannot happen. Please don't cause harm to this institution. Thank you.
In the October, just to put myself in the queue here, in the October meeting, I believe it was, we had the NWCCU representative come and speak. I asked a question in regards to kind of similar to this policy, essentially, and they indicated to follow your policy. If your policy needs some definitions, some clarity, it is up to the board to develop those clarity and definitions. And I took that to heart, really, because it allows, because they are empowering boards to have an opportunity to create definitions of different policies. That is what I heard in that presentation. I actually rewatched that meeting earlier today, and this was, again, I think that was very informative to the board in our discussion around this topic. Additionally, we do hear from experts, not only our administration and our staff, but also from stakeholders, from the business community to BIPOC communities, to communities that have a stake in this institution as a whole, which includes everybody in this district, from Florence to the mountains where I live. And hearing from them, I think, is very critical. It's a part of NWCCU standards. It's also an important aspect of our mission, vision statements, which include community. I'm done with my statement there, but we have Jerry and then Zach. Jerry, go ahead. Oh, and President Hampton hasn't had a chance to speak on this. Jerry, is it okay if we pass it to President Hampton? Excellent.
I have a statement that I would like to read out at the end.
Okay. Jerry, Zach, and then President Hampton.
Let me quote Bob Dylan. You're right by your side, and I'm right by mine. And we have a 7-member board that has to grapple with this question, and I can only speak for myself, and that is that 4350 means to me that the board can and should weigh in on major changes in academic programs like we're contemplating. So I agree with Zach.
Zach, go ahead.
No, I didn't have my hand raised. I'd appreciate hearing from Jesse, actually. I think he's the only one that hasn't spoken to this.
Oh, gotcha. I see his hand raised. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, sorry, I went camera off. My Wi-Fi is being really spotty right now. My mindset hasn't changed on this since I started on this board. I trust and respect the presentation that we saw today, and I will most definitely vote for what the administration brings forward, but I don't back away from more community involvement and transparency. So that's where my mind goes with 4350, and I do believe it is a substantive change.
It is a substantive change. Do you believe that that constitutes a requirement for a board vote based on 4350?
Oh, yeah. Point of order. Point of order goes first. Kevin.
Yeah, a back and forth is not going to.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Back and forth is not going to be a productive use of our time here. We have individual board member questions and comments, and I don't think this agenda item calls for an open discussion.
Understood. Point well, not well taken, because the Zach is just simply asking a clarifying question of a colleague.
I believe he was calling for a vote again, and so I don't think that's in order.
I was not hearing a call for a vote. He was just asking a clarifying question of what a colleague was asking was substantive. Am I speaking correctly on your question, Zach?
I think we got an answer to part A that he believes it is a substantive change, but I don't think we got a response to part B of, does that mean that we as a board should vote officially to approve that change, which I think the board policy requires.
And Jesse, you could choose to answer that or not.
Sorry, I thought I was clear on that. Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments in this area? My apologies. President Hampton.
I'll let Julie go first if she'd like to.
Just the comments in this area. It's like, I just want to make one little comment, and I am been extremely disappointed in the leadership of this board. And it's showing up right now. And it's showing up right now in not managing this meeting, and nor even this topic, by letting a single trustee actually do a poll, literally run a poll during questions and answers of board members. If that isn't a total mismanagement of a meeting and an agenda item, I don't know what is. And I think that if we're going to take a poll, we should take a poll about having a conversation about leadership and who we really want to be running our meetings. Thank you.
I greatly respect your opinions. I'm not trying to take those as personal and focus mainly on the issues at hand, as opposed to a personal attack. That being said, it is appropriate for questions and comment time period to speak about future board agendas, things that would like to be discussed in a future meeting, and gain an understanding of the direction for the next agenda. That's what I was seeing this conversation was about. And I immensely appreciate, although a very difficult topic, very important conversation to have with a focus on our mission and vision. President Hampton, would you like to speak?
Yes, if there's no other comments. I'd like to end our night a little bit differently. You've been hearing a lot from everyone else on this board, and I think this whole meeting attends to my comment. So let's be honest. Sitting in this chair sucks. Sitting on this board sucks. The world is collapsing around us, and no one knows what will happen next. In times like these, we don't need just strong leadership, we need radical change. I've sat in this seat long enough to understand the struggles and dilemmas that come with it. I'd like to thank President Bolger, my mentor, Julie Wiesman, Becca Maley, my advisor, and the other faculty and staff that I have worked with, and for their undying support in my term. And thank you to all of those who have taught me resilience, conflict management, and professionalism. I will carry these experiences with me for the rest of my life, as well as my little trophy here. That is why I have to speak up now, because I am leaving. I was deeply disappointed to hear from someone who claims to be here for students, considering calling tuition back into question. For other members of this board to be calling this decision back into question as a consideration. This college has made its choice about where to put its funding, and students should not have to bear the burden of that decision. While others get a COLA increase, we students pay more. And politics, it has no place on this board. From what I have seen, this type of behavior serves the self, not students, and it makes LCC look performative. Performance is not progress. Our job isn't to have an opinion on everything. It's to make thoughtful decisions and then trust the professionals to implement them. Right now, what I've seen, this board confuses noise with action. So this is my call to action. Be better. We all have personal differences and cares, as I've seen brilliantly tonight, and I'm asking you to put them to rest, not for harmony's sake, but because this college deserves a board that functions. I want to feel hopeful about where we're headed. That starts with all of us choosing students over self. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments and questions, we'll move on to future meetings. Future meetings, we have March 31st, which is our regular meeting. We then will be having some board, we'll obviously be getting a schedule of the budget committee meetings, and our next regular session will be May 6th. Any questions in regards to Julie?
It isn't a question, but I wanted to ask Amelia if her dad was in the room, and could she introduce him?
President.
Yes, my dad is here.
I thought he was.
Blue coat in the corner of the room. That is Steve Hampton himself.
Hey, Steve.
I don't know if you want to, I can give you the opportunity to repeat your comments. On behalf of the board, Mr. Hampton, we wanted to thank President Hampton for all of her work throughout this process and throughout this time. And you weren't in the room at the time, but every one of us said extraordinary things. We'll be sure to get a clip of that recording to you. And we just want to thank you all for your dedication and your service. Thank you. All right. With that, we are adjourned.